till shade is gone,
till water is gone,
into the shadow with teeth bared,
screaming defiance with the last breath,
to spit in Sightblinder's eye on the last day.
by my honor and the light.
My life will be a dagger for Sightblinder's heart.
Until the last day. To Shyle Ghul itself.
This is A Dagger for Sightblinder, a podcast focused on all things Wheel of Time, with your hosts,
Sarah Lucas
and Adam Tricola. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Dagger for Sightblinder. May you find shade this day. Sarah, have you found your shade yet?
I don't know. Have you thrown any yet today?
I've thrown it in other directions. I feel like you're a grown-ass woman. You can just find it yourself.
Damn it. All right. That's fine. How are you, Adam?
Yeah, threw some shade to my kids and stuff, you know?
So you're fine.
Yeah, they're fine too.
Oh man, teach them young.
Teach them what though is the question.
I don't know. So we're back, and I can't believe it's been because I've missed a week. One not last week obviously, but the one before because I was sick, and then. I got COVID right after we recorded this, basically, episode, and I'm already back somehow. I know. I don't know how you're doing it, but you are.
And it was like really bad for me too. It wasn't just like, some people who had the, the vaccine or whatever. And, they're like, oh, I felt a little fatigued. It was like, I couldn't get out of bed. I was like not doing well, high fever, all this stuff. And and here I am.
Well,
ready to talk about shade and such.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better for what it's worth.
It's crazy. I couldn't believe it. That it's only been a week.
Wild. Yeah. So now that you're feeling better, it's kind of fitting that we just started a new book.
Yeah. down with Eye of the World.
Right.
And you know what? Great Hunt will be as professional as possible.
Yeah.
You know what? There's some really good things that happen in book 2, and I really like the very start of it. Actually, there's a lot of really interesting stuff that's happening in it.
Mm-hmm.
But before we jump into the book, like, what's going on with the show?
Nothing. No news. No season 2 start date. No word on if they finished filming. Nothing. I got nothing for you.
All right. I got nothing for you.
All right. So to the book.
Sure. So maybe we should mention spoilers and stuff.
Oh yeah.
For the uninitiated.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it makes sense that, by the way, since we're on now The Great Hunt, the second book, we might also reference things that happened in the first book, in the Eye of the World.
I think we would need to, yeah.
Right. So obviously, giant blanket spoiler for the first book, but then also I was thinking we would talk about, I know last week we said the first 6 chapters, and then I realized that was a lot because there's also a prologue. So prologue and chapters 1 to 4, which is basically like the first 5. So prologue and chapters 1 to 4 is what I had planned for today.
Very well.
Cool.
Sure. Yeah, you planned it, so I guess I have to. We've already started recording, so I can't even argue that much.
You can't. You can try, but it's not going to change anything. So prologue and chapters 1 to 4.
It never does.
Cool. So
you totally have the unkindness down.
I do. It's fine. I'm not mad about it. Yeah, let's hop into this, because so we start the Great Hunt, and the prologue. I actually really enjoyed this prologue. And I don't know why I did. I just did, but
It was just a nice little different.
You didn't find it a bores?
I did not find it a bores.
You
No.
didn't find it abhorrent?
Abhorrent? No. I think the reason why I liked it is because it is from the point of view of somebody who is a dark friend or acting like a dark friend. I think that's probably why I liked it. It was just a different spectrum to be on.
Yeah, it takes you into like, and it's like this big meeting of all of the dark, like the kind of significant dark friends, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a social gathering of sorts that they're having.
Yeah, and they're all supposedly like masked.
Right.
Like none of them are like giving away their identities, but there are some dummies who are giving away clues. And I feel like he gives away some clues too. Like he thinks he's so smart, but he's also gives away some of his, like he gives away some of what we we notice things about him at least.
Right. And I mean, exactly that. Like you said, he's trying so hard not to, like he even goes to the point of like hunching over so he doesn't give away how tall he is. But he notices things about people. Like he notices that there is a Domani woman she's got like a golden bracelet on, and she's just saying what house she's from, like all of this stuff. And he recognizes that there's a tinker with green pants on, and there's, a couple of Aes Sedai, which is wild. But he's just picking up on all these little clues, exactly that, where they're masked. They're supposed to be hiding their identities, but he's noticing these little things that just give away I don't think it would give away the specific person, but where they're from. And if you paid enough attention, you could probably find them in that area again.
Yeah. So I think it's really fun too. So Robert Jordan has this duality going on right now. So we have Bors, who's looking for clues and hints for all these different people and kind of sneering at them. But then we're also given the opportunity to look for clues and hints in his take on things. So like when he sees the Aes Sedai, for instance, he doesn't call them Aes Sedai, he calls them witches.
Yes.
Which is very telling. Which is very telling. So
well said.
Thank you.
But that's exactly what it is. So he's looking for clues for them, and then we're looking for clues for him.
Yeah. It's yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, even his name, for example, like it's just the man they called Bors. Like, is that actually his name?
Do you actually know who it is? No? Because you find out in the book, at least in one of the books you do.
I'm pretty sure I don't. If I do, it's gone out the window already.
So the way he presents himself here is like there's a few textual evidence pieces that indicate that he's a white cloak.
Yes. Which would make sense because of, I think they talk about the clothes he puts on when he's leaving, if I remember correctly.
So in this book, we also eventually get to meet Pedron Niall, right? The Lord Captain Commander of the White Cloaks. And so we'll talk about who Bors is later when we get to that part. But we know who Bors is, I think. Well, I do. You don't.
You do.
I'll tell you when you're older.
Thanks. No, but they have like this whole like gathering, and then this was another thing that I found like really interesting is these two Trollocs come in and a Murdral come in, and they're like, I think they call him your master is arriving or something along those exact those words. And Balsamon comes in, who's also masked. He's got a mask on, like he's hiding his identity.
Or like there's COVID.
Or like, yeah, one or the other. But he walks in, and Bors questions whether or not he is the Dark One or if he's just like a Forsaken that broke free. And I thought that was really interesting as well. He's not just like immediately, falling into thinking that he's the Dark One.
Right.
So yeah, it is interesting because it shows that he's critically thinking.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like for a dark friend of almost any level, being like interacting with the Forsaken or interacting with the Dark One is really going to be pretty much the same,
right,
for them. Like
why would it matter if it was the Dark One or just a Forsaken? Either way, they're still doing what they're told to do.
Like they're miles above where Boris' station is as a dark friend.
Right, exactly. But I thought it was an interesting little thing that he noticed that. And then so Balzamon comes in and he forms these like images of Matt, Perrin, and Rand, and in front of him, and he's like, one of these three is the Dragon Reborn. And he says that, he doesn't want them killed. He would just rather them brought to him. He thinks that they'll be better served on the Dark One's side, or something along those lines. And he gives everyone who's there gets individual orders. So, which is also, I thought, very interesting, because it's not like a mass, like, okay, everyone, you go and do this. It's, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And you don't know what the other orders are, because he's talking to you just so like one-on-one, for lack of a better term.
Right. Yeah, so this was published in 1990, and like that was before everyone had a computer and stuff. Like I just keep I'm thinking it just in terms of like, so it's just a funny thing, because with modern technology, we can kind of think of like, okay, if we have our phones, we can just send messages individually to everyone,
right?
And or we could send an email before that, or we even just like a telephone back. But like in that day and age, they didn't have any of that stuff. And when he was writing it, like the author is also constrained by the fact that they didn't have that much readily available. Like it doesn't necessarily like, so this is kind of like him showing like this really, I don't know if you call it high tech. It's not technology. It's like magic or whatever, but it's, everyone gets their individualized message here.
Right.
It's almost like a really early form of DMs or something. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly though. But like, and instead of it just being like a public address, it's just individual DMs to each
Well,
person.
it's like, because everyone's in the same room together, and yet he's still able to keep all of their communication private, I guess, is the big thing to me.
Right.
Like it's not like he visits them each in their own homes or something. They're all in the same room, and yet it's just like if you were all in the same room, if you're in a crowd and everyone got a text message, an individualized text message, you could all kind of keep it close to your chest and not,
right.
No one would know what each other got, even though you're all in the same room. So I don't know, that's just something I was thinking of. Like it's just like a weird magical way of texting people.
I like the analogy. I will give you credit for that.
It's not the best one. It really isn't. I get it.
But it makes sense. So yeah, but they all have their own individual ones. And he gets to go back to Tarballin and just keep doing what he's doing. Keep an eye out for the boys.
Yep. Look out for them boys.
Yep. So, and he does, they at the end of the prologue, he does change. It was, he calls her like the servant girl who's, in this tavern where they've been meeting, and she says something along the lines that it's better if he's in his clothing already before he arrives to where he's going. So he does, change in order for that. But he also, again, at the end of this, you mentioned earlier that he's critically thinking. He has another bit of this where he is actually wondering whether his immortality is worth the cost of having this meeting and, becoming a dark friend. Which is another little, I thought, great little tidbit, because we've only really seen like Rand's point of view and Perrin's point of view. Like we've only really seen the quote unquote good guys. Right. That to see a dark friend's point of view and to see them be questioning whether or not this is a worthwhile risk to take is it the smart decision to make is very humanizing.
So now you're looking for humanizing effects. Normally it's funny because you're typically like, oh, White Cloak, ew.
I know.
And now you're like, ooh, White Cloak, human. Interesting.
I just thought it was a nice change and I enjoyed it.
Oh, it is. Having multi-dimensional bad guys is not something that Robert Jordan typically does like super well, but there are instances where he does it extremely well. This is an example of this isn't the best example. There's better bad guys that he writes for sure, but yeah, it's nice. Instead of this, in a lot of ways, this is very Star Wars, or very like it's very black and white kind of, like who, if you're not with us, you're with the other guys. There's not someone who's like, I don't really like either one. It's it's very polarized,
right?
And so it's nice to see some people who are thinking along the lines of maybe I don't want to be on this side.
Yeah, exactly. That's why that's exactly what I was thinking. So
yeah, I agree.
approve. Awesome.
No, I approve.
All right, so let's go into chapter 1, the actual chapter 1, the Flame of Tarballin.
What's that?
That's the name of the chapter. And the Flame of Tarballin is the Emerald Sea.
Oh,
right.
I thought it was the episode. I thought it was episode 8 of the show. Or
no,
episode
was it
6?
6?
7?
5? I don't know. One of those.
At least we know 7. Our numbers. We've proven that we know our numbers.
Right. Yeah.
Ish.
Notice that neither of us said 4.
Much to your disappointment.
Correct. So, chapter 1, Rand and Lan are doing some sword fighting. They're practicing. They're just having a grand old time. They're still in Faldara, outside
They're
Faldara.
Just stick handling, you might say.
Right. Well, I mean, they do it so poorly that Lan's sword, his practice sword, shatters, and Rand gets hurt. He gets an owie.
He gets an owie.
He's hurt. And I mean, he's fine, but Lan ends up explaining to Rand that Rand's sword was most likely made by Aes Sedai like over 3,000 years ago or something, which Rand can't really seem to grasp and like wrap his head around this fact. Like he's like, but it came from my dad. And it's like, well, your dad probably got it from somebody, Rand. Like,
right.
the same way you did.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, he's like, no, like your dad didn't make that sword. Like he didn't have it like custom built for him. Yeah.
Right. It's just so funny because he's just like latched on, and I can understand why he has, because he's latched onto this because it came from his dad, and he's latched onto the fact that Tam is his father, because if Tam's his father, then he can't be who Moraine is saying he is.
Right. He can't be the Dragon Reborn, or yeah.
Exactly. So if he can just convince himself that Tam is his dad, and Tam's his dad because the sword came from him, and like all this, follow these steps that he's trying to make be logical, and they're not.
Do you think Rand accused Lan of lansplaining?
oh, terrible.
It's not that bad.
Rand doesn't accuse anyone of anything because he just whines.
He just whines.
But yeah,
I think he's justified in floundering a little bit mentally, though, because
yes,
he's got a lot going on. Like he knows he can channel,
right?
And
Lan and Moraine know, and Nynaeve and Egwene know.
Well, and Moraine's not talking to him.
Yeah, and he mentions that they're having this whole they have like a little heart to heart while they're doing their sword practicing, and
lansplaining.
Right, they're lansplaining. But they have this whole
Continue.
conversation about like Lan wants to know why he hasn't left yet. It's been a month. He said he was going to leave and he hasn't left. And Rand just kind of makes these excuses about how he doesn't want to leave before Matt and Perrin leave, and wants to make sure they're okay and like all this stuff, and he's just dragging his feet. But and you can tell in this conversation when they're having all these chats about like the sword and where it came from and why hasn't he left yet and all this stuff. All this frustration that Rand is feeling with Moiraine not being there is coming out. And it's interesting that the person he chooses to talk to about it is Lan, because, Lan's her warder. And he does kind of defend her a little bit, in
sure,
like a tiny bit. Not, I wouldn't say like hugely, but he does speak logically.
Yeah, well, I mean, we should all be so lucky to have a mentor like Lan, frankly.
Right.
Like, I know I was saying like Lan-splaining. I'm not even, it's just a stupid play on words. It barely works. But like in reality, though, he's like Rand's dad right now in a lot of ways, because he's teaching Rand an important thing. He's talking to him about life things. And I think that you can't mentor someone and teach someone without having some kind of sympathetic feeling toward them. And so even if Lan is still loyal to Moiraine, he doesn't have to approve of the way she's approaching things. He just has to be there to back her up, kind of.
Right.
So,
but he also, like, going off of that, like, he does make really great points and is explaining it to Rand. He's like, Rand's frustrated because Moraine's not around and ignoring him and doing all this stuff. And Lan is like, well, do you want her to treat her like what you actually are? Like, what she's doing is better than what she could be doing, basically.
Well, yeah, I remember having a conversation with at that point, he was 7 years old. He was frustrated that we weren't giving him, like something sweet that he really wanted to eat or something. And at one point I was just like, look, buddy, as your dad, I want really good things for you, but we both know that this isn't going to be healthy for you. And would I be doing my job to just like not, or to just give you what you want right now, or do I, should I actually be explaining, this isn't healthy and we can't do this because it's unhealthy, like actually explaining to him why things are, instead of just like, no, you can't have that. And once I actually sat down and was like, I have to do this because it's my responsibility, because it's good for you, then he could wrap his mind around it. And similarly, I think Lan is doing him a huge favor, instead of being like, just deal with it, kid. Like, he's explaining life to him, essentially. Like, just having that kind of relationship is, I don't know, it's valuable. Like, Rand is still a teenager, right? At this point, I feel like he's a teenager.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And Lan continues that. And he's like, you've learned everything that you can learn from Moiraine, that she can teach you. You've already learned it. So there really isn't a lot left for her to do other than treat you like what you are, which she isn't doing. And she's just ignoring him. So yeah. And then there's some music in the background and horns and cheering, and the Amaryllis seat is coming to Faldara.
Yay!
They're rolling in, and then Rand is panicking that they're coming for him.
Yeah, it's like, what did you think? You're just gonna hang out there for a couple decades? Like, that's your new home, or what?
Right.
There's gonna be something. You're hanging out with an Aes Sedai, an Aes Sedai who has never stayed still as far as Rand has known her. And yet she's just sitting there waiting. Like, what's she waiting for? She's clearly, something momentous is gonna happen.
Right.
And he doesn't want that attention.
He does not. And yeah, exactly. He doesn't want it to be him. So
yeah,
can't say I blame him.
You kind of see Rand's immaturity here.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Which is why I admire Lan so much here.
frankly, just taking him under his wing, and he didn't have to, but
No.
yeah. So
Yeah.
is that it? Is that
that's it? The chapter ends with he just hears that the Amazon seat is coming and Fran's panicking.
Yeah, they think he's gonna get gentled, and
Exactly.
that's a reasonable assumption.
Exactly. So chapter 2 then is called The Welcome, which is obviously about the Emerald Seat being welcomed in Faldara.
Is that obvious?
I don't know. Maybe it's not. I thought it was obvious.
I guess my mental capabilities are just a little bit less than yours.
Oh.
Obviously.
Sorry.
It's okay. We all have our difficulties, Sarah.
Right.
And I know what yours are, so we're good.
They're numbers.
But not 4.
No. Yeah, so Rand has decided he's gonna leave, and he's in his room and he's packing up his stuff, and he's like, I need clothes, I need to do all this, get everything organized. So he goes down to get he ends up running into like a Lansu. I'm saying it wrong. Am I saying this wrong? A Lansu? And like just some other servants, and they're replacing all of his clothes basically.
Yeah. So she's the I forget, the house like the household runner of Fault. Like she's the person who, she makes sure everyone has the right accommodations.
Right. Exactly.
I keep wanting to say like housekeeper, but that's not. She's way higher up than that. She like runs Faldara on like the servant side, I guess.
Right.
She's the head servant in a way.
Right. So yeah, and
we did a terrible job of explaining it. It's
okay. We got it though. So she's in charge basically of the servants.
She is.
Yeah. And they're
good for her.
Yeah, they're all out there and they're taking his old clothes and replacing it with new, like finer clothes. And so he's like, all right, well, he takes some clothes that he needs packed up. He takes Tom's harp and flute and packs those up. I think he takes his cloak as well.
Yeah, I think he takes everything. He's like, I've waited too long. Let's get the F out of here.
Get out of here. So he decides he's going to go to the stables. He figures there's got to be like a horse or something that he can use. And while he's headed there, he goes through the courtyard, and that courtyard is where the Amerlin Seat's party is kind of like being welcomed into Faldara, and there's this whole ceremonies in progress.
Hold on, can we back up for just a sec? This was the scene too where he's like, he's gonna change his clothes, and he said he wants to pack up and everything and get that lady out of there. And he's like, hey, I need to change my clothes, and she's like, okay, go ahead and change them. Right. This and they all think it's funny, like it's kind of a joke with the servants because they've realized how bashful he is about it. And he gets so angry about it that he just changes in front of them anyways or something, right?
He just does it. Yeah.
Yeah,
there is there's quite a lot of servant laughter and banter going on.
Yeah, they get an eyeful. Good for them.
Poor Rand.
Yeah,
just getting picked on.
I mean, that is bullying. Like, regardless of how much of a fool he's been acting a little bit on some levels, like if he's uncomfortable with that sort of thing, like it's not really okay for them to just,
right,
to push him around like that. I don't know. This one thing in this series that kind of bugs me is the bullying that goes on a lot of different levels. There's just a lot of, they're power dynamics, but there's, I don't know, they kind of bug me, and that's one of them. I always thought, like, I don't know, he really bothers him, and they think it's funny to make sport of it. So whatever, that's life, I guess. But it's also a funny scene. It shows how stubborn he is as well. He's like,
yeah,
you know what,
and he just does it anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah, maybe they do leave or something. Now I'm trying to remember. It doesn't matter. There's plenty of scenes where people get,
Bullied.
Yeah. Anyways,
Poor Rand.
I guess
Yeah.
he could, if he's tired of that, he should have left already.
Right. Well, he's trying to.
All right.
So, but he's trying to. He goes to the stables, and then when he's there, he is told that nobody is allowed to leave. Nobody's allowed to leave the city. And he learns that the Amerlin Seat is actually looking for him and wants to see him. So he runs because that's a logical thing. It doesn't make you look guilty at all. Oh, poor Rand. Yeah, so that's that. That's the end of the chapter.
You know what I think happens in that this is why we need to we're trying to let the books catch up to everything. I think what happens is they take all of his old clothes and then make him change out of his old clothes because they're going to burn them. And then so he's wearing nice fancy new clothes now, like something like the Lord would wear. I think right. That's what happened. So, and I think that they made sport of him, but they didn't actually watch him change or something along those lines. Anyways, so yeah, no one's letting him leave. Some vague, and this is a really interesting thing. Like someone gave an order that they're not allowed to let him leave, but they don't even know where it came from, like who issued that order.
Right.
And it turns out to be someone surprising later down the line, but we don't know at this point because he thinks it's just the Amerlin. But then they're like, well, the Amerlin couldn't really order that. Like it'd have to be Ingtar or Agelmar, basically.
Right. Which is interesting.
Right, but none of them know because it just came down the chain of command. So, anyways,
yeah,
we have a mystery.
We have a mystery. Only 2 chapters in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the 3rd chapter, Friends and Enemies. So he's obviously trying to leave, and he's going up to all these gates around the town. They're all guarded, they're all locked. He can't leave. Rand is so scared about what the Amerlin Seat is going to do to him. He doesn't want to be gentled. Like, and I mean, I can't say that I blame him. You can hear, obviously, because this is still his point of view. Like, he's very concerned about the fact that if he gets gentled, he's not going to live. Like,
right, that's synonymous to him with dying, which frankly, that's basically what happens to gentled men.
Yeah, so I can't really blame him. It's just a humorous way of how this is all, spiraling. So then he starts assuming that Moraine sent the Amerlin for him, and that's why she's left the city and why she's ignoring him. And you could just the spiral of paranoia for Rand is happening.
Yeah, he's more and more frantic. He's feeling hunted.
Yeah. So, and then he remembers, or he thinks he remembers, that Ogier built the city. So he's like, oh, well, if they built the city, then Loyal will know how to get out of the city because Loyal's an Ogier. So he goes to look for Loyal.
At least he's trying. Like, he didn't just give up.
Right. And then he realizes he learns there's no way out of the city. There's no hidden way out of the city. So yeah. And while this is happening, he also runs into Matt and Perrin, this is really good because Matt and Perrin and Loyal don't know that he can channel. So they're still acting the same around him, and they have no idea why he frantically wants to leave the city. Like, there's just this complete lack of communication. And just confusion, really. Like, they don't get why he wants to leave so drastically. So.
Right. Well, and then he's a dick to him. Here's the thing. Like, so he's doing it he's like doing it for loyalty. Like, really, he's trying to. He's like, I don't want you guys to get hurt and mixed up with me, because if they know that you've been helping a man who can channel, then you're just screwed like me. So like Matt's like, oh, well, those are some fancy clothes you're wearing.
Yeah.
And Rand's like, yeah, well, that some people here think I'm a lord, and I don't want to be seen with you guys.
Yeah, he just is so rude. And then he's rude to Loyal, which is just like he starts being rude to him, and Loyal, you can hear you can tell that Loyal's just so concerned that he's somehow annoyed Rand, and Loyal sees Rand, and he's so happy to see Rand, and then he's concerned that he's annoyed him. And he even says something along the lines of how Loyal knows that he can talk a lot, and just it could be annoying. And I was like, man, I feel that. But like he's just trying so hard to be Rand's friend, and then Rand's a total dick to him, and just to make him angry, which is odd because I can't picture Loyal angry, but he gets angry.
I don't think he gets angry.
He doesn't get like outwardly angry, but I believe they describe his like eyes as hardening or something, or flashing with anger, or if I'm remember, there's something about his eyes, like Rand can see it switch, and it's just awful. Like out of all of them, I think Loyal hurts the most to be a dick to.
I mean, he knows. I think it's worse that he's mean to Matt and Perrin, because they've been his best friends forever, and he's like pretending to be a lord just to make him mad. Like, I don't know. I think this is another example of him being incredibly foolish. But it's actually a really important thing in the series that he starts kind of distancing himself from people as well.
Right.
Like, even though it's really frustrating at this point when it happens, it's like when you look at it from a bigger distance, like it's a little more important that he gets used to the idea of people not being super close to him, I guess. And I guess that's spoiler-ish for you, but
I mean,
spoiler adjacent perhaps.
He's kind of acting that way, so I'm not totally shocked.
Yeah. So
then he goes to find Egwene. And he's gonna be a dick to Egwene too.
May as well.
Right? We're on a roll. So she's actually on her way to see Padan Fain in the jail cells when he finds her and starts to be a dick to her. And she is onto it though. She's just like, this is not, you're not gonna be a dick to me and push me.
Yeah, she sees through it, and she handles it maturely, which I was like, whoa, she's being mature. Weird.
Right. You're like, is this Egwene? What's happening here?
Right.
Yeah. So they end up going down to see Padan Fain together.
Yeah, and the Shannara guards are all they're all grouches. They're grumps.
Right.
Not professional.
Which I don't really get, but
oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, okay.
Should I? Is it like a jealousy thing?
So they're being affected by Padan Fain himself.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Like okay. There's an element to Padan Fain which hasn't been explored yet. Maybe you don't even know what it is yet where you're reading, even in book 3. So I don't want to spoil anything, but he's more than just a really gross dark friend. We'll just say that. Like, there are good and sufficient reasons for them to be acting that way, and it's not really even their fault, frankly.
Okay.
It's kind of a thing that's just happening to them.
Okay, that's fair. If it's not their fault.
Yeah, but like, well, and Egwene notes it. She's like, oh yeah, like the main guard. She's like, he's like real mean and rude and making like really coarse jokes and stuff, and she's like, we joked about, you know, something really innocent when I first met him. Like he was a really nice guy.
Yeah, and now he's being a dick.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, so they go down to see him, and he says that Rand is going to be on the Dark One's side by the time Padan Fane's through with him.
Yeah, Padan Fane. Well, because Rand has reservations about visiting Padan Fane, because why would you keep visiting a dark friend? But honestly, like why do that? And Egwene likes it because it's a taste of home. He knows all the same people as her. It's nice to have someone to talk to about that sort of thing.
Right.
And so she's like, and he's made so much progress. But when they go down there, Padan Fane is just crazy and says a lot of crazy things to Rand.
Yeah. Yeah. She starts talking about he says like Mordeth knows all or something ridiculous. He brings up Mordeth, which is interesting.
He does.
Because that hasn't come up since early on in the Eye of the World.
It's a hint at Padan Fane's nature.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. So yeah, he's just completely crazy, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
And Rand is like, so Egwene, maybe don't go visit him more.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe stop hanging out with the Dark Friends, and yeah. But then Egwene has this idea to hide Rand in the women's quarters.
Yeah, it's the last place they'll look.
Yeah. So that's what they're gonna do at the end of the chapter, is hide him, I guess.
Yeah.
So
he just goes with it. But it's cool because Rand is totally out of options. He's totally desperate, and Egwene is just, she's like, all right, let's problem solve. We'll figure this out. I'll take care of you. You know, we'll shelter you. We'll figure this out. And this is one of the times that I'm like, oh, Egwene's not so bad after all, because
you're like, oh, look at her being a proper problem solving human.
So did we tally it up at the end? Like, was she the most annoying character?
I forgot to tally it. I'm willing to bet she was.
Yeah, we'll tell you guys next week, maybe.
Remind me to tally it.
But she was definitely in the running for most annoying character of last book. And this, so far in this book, I'm very impressed with Egwene, actually.
Yeah, she's being pretty logical and rational so far with everything.
Yeah, and it's at one point, and I think it's just a little bit later, but Moiraine notices Egwene with someone who's carrying packages for her or something, and Moiraine clearly knows who it is, and she's like, oh, if Egwene shows half this initiative in the White Tower, she's gonna go far.
Right.
It's kind of like she even catches Moraine's eye in terms of, you know, like her capabilities and her initiative. It's cool.
Right. Yeah, which is actually great because in the next chapter, Summoned, it's from Moraine's point of view, and there's a little bit of Egwene. She speaks of Egwene a little bit. But yeah, so we learned that Moiraine is in her own quarters by herself, and she wants to go see the Amyrlin, and two other Aes Sedai come to kind of like escort her there. Liandrin and Anaya come. And I guess
Anaya's blue, like she's Moraine's friend.
Right. And Liandrin is red.
Yeah. Right. And she's young and pretty, but she's a red.
Right. And I guess Moraine's like warded her room from everybody. Because Liandrin kind of like tries to scold her about how she shouldn't be warding her room off from her sisters, and Moraine's answer is like, well, it's not to the sisters, it's warded against everyone. like no, I didn't ward you away, I warded everyone away. So
yeah, well, I do like Moiraine versus Liandrin in this book. Like Moiraine gets the best of her every time.
Oh,
Leandrin's just not experienced enough. Moraine just, runs
it's
circles
just
around her.
it's so funny, and it's just such a technicality where she's just like, well, no, I didn't actually ward you away. I warded everybody away, so it's fine. Anyway, so they are escorting her over to see the Emerald Sea, and they're just kind of, I guess, filling her in really on everything that's happened. And they're talking about how there are 3 false dragons that were spotted, and Elaine and Gawain have come down to the tower, and they're just like filling her in on all of these things. And while this is happening, she sees Egwene like going down the hallway with this crouched figure behind her.
That's the thing I was referring to. Yeah.
Like she just sees it happen and is fully aware because it's Moraine. But yeah, and they're telling her the great hunt for the horn has started in Ilion, I think they say it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're basically just getting her up to speed before she goes into the Amerlin's quarters, which she does.
And Leandrin's she's not being helpful.
No, I think this is, if I remember correctly, it's mostly Anaya, and Anaya is just like so excited that, particularly that Elaine and Gawain are at the tower. But so she goes into the quarters, and there's a whole bunch of other Aes Sedai that are in there from the different
Ajas.
Yes, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. I was still thinking factions. I was like, it's not the right word. But there are a whole bunch of other Aes Sedai in there, and the Amerlin wants everyone except for Leanne and Moraine to leave, which is what happens. So everybody leaves, and they can now, so they can talk about how there are fewer Aes Sedai in the tower, but they do bring up Elaine and Nynaeve coming to the tower, and they think that Elaine and Nynaeve are going to be 2 of the most powerful Aes Sedai that they've seen in ages. And this is interesting. I thought this was interesting because Moraine kind of brings up Egwene here, and is like, well, like Egwene, I brought Egwene as well. Like I brought you Nynaeve, but I'm bringing Egwene too. And Egwene's pretty much on the same level as Elaine. And I think this is when we first start seeing Moraine really push Egwene forward.
Oh yeah, I mean, because Egwene has an enormous amount of talent, and she's showing initiative. Moraine found her, so she gets, that's good for Moraine on a personal level, and just on for like the Blue Aja in general. And
so she's just kind of pushing that forward. But then, like, I think the pinnacle of all of this is that Nynaeve is superior to both of them. Like Nynaeve is clearly the most powerful one that they've found. And then the Amerlin kind of tells Moraine that she should have brought the Tarviran boy to her right away. So she kind of gets like a little slap on the wrist here too for not bringing Bran there.
Well, yeah, like so they finally get it's just them, and they're the only ones who know that they're conspirators, they're co-conspirators. And the Amerlin's like, you didn't send me any news at all. Like you sent me like a couple small, like tidbits, and so I had to make this whole pretense to come up to Faldara because of, like she's mad because how frustrating is it if you're waiting for someone to get back to you, to get news to you, and you're just sitting there tapping your foot, like you can't do anything. You just feel impotent. It's frustrating.
Right. Yeah. So, and I think she even says that, like, to get to Faldara, she had to like rush the party there. She had to use magic to rush them there, and it could have had effects on everything around.
Oh yeah, it's gonna mess up the weather for a long time, and
Mhm.
it flooded the different areas and stuff. Yeah, like it has real world impact to try to travel that fast, and you know,
Yep.
but at the end of the day, they're co-conspirators. They're working together, and Moraine's like, well, I don't know. She handles it pretty well. She's like, well, my bad, but
Yeah.
here's the situation.
Here's the situation. Yeah. And that's that. That's the end of that.
Wow. So we covered everything.
Yeah. It's the prologue, first 4 chapters.
All right. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna listen to the next ones again for the next podcast. So
right.
What are we listening to next time, Sarah?
I think we should do chapters 5 to 9 next time. So that's
Okay.
5 chapters.
That's fair.
It's totally doable.
Yeah, and I'll actually listen to them because it's been a couple months now, and I need to refresh myself so that we actually have good commentary on it.
Yeah, we can dive into that next week.
Yeah, who's the Mac?
Who's the Mac?
Yeah,
it has to be Rand.
Not Loyal.
No, I don't think Loyal will ever be the Mac.
You're damn right he's not.
But like Rand's just such a dick in these chapters.
Like yeah, it's understandable that
it is
the way he's treated, the way he's acting, but at the same time, just because you understand someone doesn't mean you should excuse it. Just because you're like, well, okay, my son is acting this way, should like, I can understand that he's a little kid, he doesn't learn, or he doesn't know better yet, but should I just be like, yeah, okay, just go do what you want, or should I hold him accountable? And yeah, like Rand is being an obnoxious prick, so let's vote him down.
Yep. So he's the Mac.
He's the most annoying character.
Damn it.
He
Rand.
He
is.
Yeah, because we can't pick Leandrin because I don't like her. She's more annoying, but she's too easy.
But I think like even with just Rand here, like with Matt and Perrin, with him being a dick to them and being a dick to Loyal, like again, we understand why he's doing it. He's pushing them away. He's trying to protect them. But then he goes and does it to Egwene for the same reasoning. But Egwene already knows. Like she's not in the same category.
No.
So it's just useless. No. There's no point to it.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary.
Yeah. Rand can get the downvote here. Yeah. Goodbye, Rand. You're the weakest link.
Yep. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this week, I guess, because there's no other news.
I suppose. I think we've covered enough. We can. So chapters 5 through 9 next week.
5 through 9 next week. We'll dive in. Maybe I'll refresh too, because it's been a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks for hanging out.
You're welcome.
Wow, that sounded really genuine.
I mean, you're welcome to hanging out. Yeah. I don't know what to say, Sarah. Thank you. No, thank you.
Oh boy, here we go. All right, guys. Thank you for listening or watching on YouTube, wherever you are. May you always find water and shade.
Yeah, guys. Sorry for any unkindness.